Hello, this is Adam Najmanowicz for Sitecore PowerShell Extensions. In the last video, I've shown you how to write a good PowerShell script function, and today we're going to learn how to use them and in your scripts and how to best import those functions that you have wrote. So let's start with the function that we wrote last time, and let's create a module that in which we will save and use the function. So I'm going to create a new module. Let's call it example1. And let's create the libraries for integration point libraries for shared functions where we will save the function. And then let's use this function in context menu and in toolbox. The libraries got created. Now I can save my module, my function script in this module. So I'm going to press save, and in my example1, in the functions, I'm going to save it as write example. So the function is saved. Now I can start using it. Let's create a new script where I will say import function. There we go. And provide the name for the function, which you can see the PowerShell Extensions is helping me by providing autocomplete. Write example. Now let's make use of this function. I'm going to use it in the content tree. So where I would say example, let's use the something slightly more elaborate. So for the example parameter, I'm going to use the example4 and then provide the name of the item that was actually for which the context item was executed. So I'll get the get item and dot for the current item and a name for the from the item. Now the number, I'll just provide 2 because I don't want this to be too long. I also want to show the results. And in a text form, and then just close the window. Okay, so in my case, the context item I've got selected right now is home, so it should just write example for home 012. That's what we would expect. Let's save this in my example module context menu and call it example1 from module 1. Now, similarly for the toolbox, I want this function to be exposed, but let's just say example module 1. Oh, I overwrote it. Let's just save it, and now for the module 1. And this time save as, and in toolbox example1. Now in here it will just say example from module 1 and enumerate. So At this point, those integration points were leveraged, and I can pick from script, example from module 1, where you can see my imported function has executed. And similarly, in the toolbox, I've got my example 1. That is cool. Now, what will happen if I will have this function defined twice? That's not really a scenario where you would normally save this function in under the same name, but let's say in my functions I will create two libraries, v1 and v2. Now move this function into v1 and copy it into v2. This might be the case if your module is in your module is in progress, and you might want to have different versions of the same script, or if you're using one in development and one in production. So what will happen in this case? If I will execute this, it will import the right example, but which one? Actually, let's try that. Okay, so SPE have detected that the right example is ambiguous, and that we should narrow the scope and explain to it which one is used. We could potentially implement it in SPE this way, that it would execute all of them, but that would potentially create unpredictable results. So I can actually specify that I want to use the one from library v1, and it will actually provide me with the autocomplete for the v1. So I can see that it's example for module 1, and for let's just edit this function and let's disregard it, so that we can actually say it's example 1 v1 and it's example 1 v2. Now, if I will not provide this parameter, it will use the default one, so I will see which one is used. So it used example 1 v1. If I will change this and execute, it will use the example 1 version 2. Now, what will happen if I will have this module and have this function in a different module? Let's duplicate this module. Let's call it example 2. And in here, in the functions, let's change it so that we can tell that it's example 2 v1 and example 2 v2. Now, as you can expect, now we've got some additional ambiguity, and I cannot execute the right example because the library v1 is in both modules, because they are exactly the same. So what I can now say additionally is that I want to use the module example 1, or I want to use the module example 2. And again, without this ambiguity, I can easily SPE can easily tell whether it wants to use example 1 or example 2 v2. Now, you might want some something to happen automatically if you've got two versions of the module. So you might actually want to have, okay, I want to use the library v1, but I want to use it without specifying it, the module, because only one of those modules will be present. Now, what we can do is we can disable the example1 module. Now, when it is disabled, it will know to automatically use only the functions that are in the active module. So it will use the example2 v2. Now, if I will enable this module and disable the example2, it will execute the example1 v2. So you can see that there is that the fact that a function is defined in multiple modules can be can be disambiguated by providing additional specification around library and module name. Whatever is in the script that is actually in the right example is going to be executed at this point. So if you're only defining functions, that's not going to be a problem. However, if you are writing something out in those scripts, just make sure that that you know, you're aware that the script in this function script is going to execute in whole. And that is it. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.